Welcome everyone to the Gut Reset Coaching Call number 1. We are super excited to have you guys on this program. It is going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of learning. It's going to be a fun experience and a fun journey. So we want to just introduce ourselves in case you haven't met us in person. So I'm Dr. Katie Snow.
Dr. Eric Snow.
And so this is our first rollout with the Gut Reset as far as our virtual program. So we put a lot of work into it, just trying to capture everything that we do with the patients in our office in order, for us to be able to give you a virtual version of that. And so really excited. We put a lot of work into it, and we know that everyone is going to get a great experience and a great outcome and great results with it. So how we have set up this first call, it's an hour. And so we wanted to run through some material that some of it was included in the materials, but we just wanted to reinforce it because we know how important it is for everyone to be successful, to go over some of these things just to reinforce and know how to help if you're in that situation. So we did save some time for question and answer. And so we'll definitely have that time. And just remember, we have the chat box that you can submit questions. And if there's anything that you are having trouble, we have one of our people that didn't have their camera on, and so they're going to be talking through the chat box. So just know that is how we'll communicate. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. So this is our Gut Reset Coaching Call number 1, and we have a few slides to go through. And again, we'll have the question and answer at the end. Okay, so you might have seen this screen before, but by having the discipline and the tools, so we provided the tools to beat the temptations, you will be successful on the Gut Reset program. So we've just seen so many people, and we know that one thing is the willpower, all of our willpower. We're all humans. We've all had circumstances we've been in, and we're like, okay, we didn't pass that test. But we know our willpower waxes and wanes, but our why doesn't. So we really want to talk and hit that one home, the point on how important it is to know what our why is. But the discipline and the tools, that's something that we work at, but our why never changes. So just a few points. Remember, this is temporary. It's 30 days. It's not forever. So just, every day when you get up, just remember, hey, I can do this, and if you need to do things like count the days down, put a little fun calendar up, somewhere on your kitchen cabinets with numbers and change it out every day. It's 30 days. It's going to go by so quickly, but remember, it's temporary. It's not forever, and you can do this.
Yeah, I like the calendar setup where you have a dedicated time and you actually like X off those days. It reminds me, because we've used that before with different programs, but it reminds me of running a half marathon, and you have checkpoints. And it's like, when you were a quarter way through, when you're halfway through, and it was easier to, gauge your discipline and gauge your willpower. But what I found is real interesting working with patients over the last many years is that we'll get them through these programs, whether it's a gut reset program, a sugar detoxification, full body purification, which requires some discipline and definitely just a lot of like energy just to say, hey, I want to do this and get started. But we get them to the end and they feel so much better that many of them, I'm going to say like almost 60%, they actually just keep going with the program because it feels so good to feel good. They don't want to go back to feeling like they did. And so many of them, they'll go, try that food that they thought they were missing. And then they eat that food and it either doesn't taste like they remembered it, or they feel so bad they don't want to eat it again. And so that's the big thing for the success in the program is you get to elevate your energy and your health to a level that you might not have been in a while. And you like to stay there. And so these foods that you start to put back in, they pull you back down into that dis-ease state. And so it's real motivating to see that. But yeah, having a time frame, kind of knowing how close you are, halfway through, 75% through is definitely going to help you stay motivated and stay in the game a lot longer.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so number two, remember your why. And we were just talking about that a second ago. For those of you who have not downloaded the materials, how we had said in the email, I'm just going to show you my little sheet. So this is a paper copy of the why set health goals. I can't tell you how important this is to, if you had to just say, all right, I haven't went through all the materials, I started today, pull this one out if you haven't done it yet and do this exercise today. It's so important to know, like, okay, why am I doing this? I mean, we all know like we need to be healthier and, you know, we want to feel good every day. But if you pull the string, you'll really know like your why is sometimes bigger than just like feeling better every day. And sometimes that is what it is. Like people just want to, like, I want to have the energy every day. But for some people, it could be so I can take care of my parents who are aging. Sometimes it's so I can have a better relationship with my spouse because I'm always tired and I'm not able to go out and do activities with them. And so if we can look at what our why is, we really will do a better job with this journey, because we're going to keep looking at that why, you know, like, hey, you know, and then we'll share that why with our family and friends that are around us, our support group, because they want us to be successful. They see that we're struggling. And especially if it's, you know, to make your relationship better with your spouse, if you can share this why with them and let them help you be the best support they can, you know, you're going to be ultra successful. And then just look at the outcome when you get done. So I think that's a very powerful thing to do, is to know your why, and especially doing a health journey like this.
Yeah, Dr. Katie, you're so right about that. I've seen even on my personal journey, there's so many things like say like doing this exercise with your why. It can be easy to have a why that you think is what it should be or what people have told you to be. But if you really do some searching and understand, you know, what your big motivator is and what your real true why is, it's a real profound thing of like the willpower that comes, the excitement and the motivation, because you really know why you're doing something. And so it can really elevate you not only to be successful in a program like this, but it can elevate you spiritually too, to get some clarity. And that's what's really good about a program like this is it's really it's a fast. You know, you're fasting from all these stressful foods that might be coping foods. You might not even realize it's a bad food, but they're stealing life and energy and vitality away from you. They are dampening your emotions. So really knowing why you're just, you know, you get up every day and why you want to do this program, you can really be in a different place in a short period of time. It's real refreshing.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, and then number three, just going back over the being prepared. So we all know temptations are going to arise. You're going to have a family event or a dinner, a friend invites you to go eat dinner, or whatever it is. So just remember, the temptations are going to arise. And so it's just easier when you're prepared, you know, when you're not starving. If you go to the grocery store and you're hungry, it fails every time, I promise. And so I know you guys know this. But remember, this is a gut healing diet. It's not a weight loss diet. You know, a lot of people through losing inflammation will have that as a byproduct, but we're not seeing this as a weight loss diet. We're seeing this as we're following, you know, these foods to include, these foods to avoid, and doing some of these strategies that we've put together for you guys. But it's not a calorie restrictive diet. And just remember, allocate time to prepare your food so that you're not, you know, oh goodness, you know, I didn't the day before like have me prepare what I'm going to eat the next day, and I had to run out the door, bring the kids to school, and then my day is just full until say like 6 or 7 p.m. And so if you're at work and you feel like you're trapped because you don't have the foods because you weren't prepared, so just do every day, just spend that extra, you know, 10 minutes minimum in the evening of just having what you're going to do the next day. You know, have your plan A, your food ready, fill up on it. Plan B is to have maybe what you made a couple days ago frozen. It's so easy to freeze things in Ziploc or in some container so that you can just pull it out. Even if you're like, oh goodness, I didn't prepare, you have that plan B, grab something out of the freezer and run out, the door to go to work with it. And then plan C is if you didn't prepare, just know ahead of time. There's local restaurant stores and even like delivery services like Waiter, Grubhub, some of these. If you know where you can order from and something that's on the safe list, then you don't have to worry about it. And I always say, remember, I can make fast food in a grocery store faster than a drive-through lane. Like I've ran into a produce department, I've grabbed, 2 avocados and like a thing of celery and like ran back out. And I'm like, I could never do that was way faster than any drive-through. And if y'all saw my glove box, you would laugh, but he knows what my glove box. You open it up and it's got all these like knives and spoons and I'm like, we can eat anything going down the road. But it's in my, it's like a Jack in the Box when you open my glove box. It's got all these silverware, throwaway silverware, and I have some camping silverware. But you can make it work if you're thinking ahead. But even if you're not, just know what is my, plan C. If I had to run in a grocery store, what can I grab? That's going to be on the okay list so that I don't get in that pinch and then eat whatever. And then I'm frustrated at that point. And then setting up your environment for success. So, making sure you have plenty of compliant groceries around. Buy extra, you got this 30 days, get some extra. And that way you're not like, because again, we're not restricting you to like eat in a certain window or eat, a certain amount of calories. That's not the restrictive part. It's just the things that you can't eat. And so if you have those groceries that you can have in your pantry, in your freezer, in your refrigerator, and again, these days, the awesome thing is there's so many healthy things. If you go to your local grocery store in your freezer section, there's things that are compliant with this that are prepared already. Cutting out some time for you. I know you guys are all busy. And so that's really helpful when you can go and find some healthy, good ingredient items that are already prepared in your grocery store. And then just making sure you're removing the junk food and foods that you shouldn't have from your home, work, or car. And I tell people, if it's your pantry, that little like we make that little route through our kitchen and go through the pantry, and it's like we know what's there, but then we go back because we're like, oh, I just need something to eat. Take those few minutes, even if it's today, and like do some rearranging in your pantry. Don't necessarily have to clean your pantry out, but go, all right, I'm going to like move all these things here. These are the things I can have right now. And if it's something that your kids or your spouse or somebody else that lives in the home has, and it's not going to work for you on the gut reset program, just move it out of your visual. And just know when I go in the pantry or wherever if it's cabinets where you keep your food, like just move it. And again, I think I said this in one of the videos. I have a family member, and it's kind of funny, but her husband eats things, that she shouldn't eat, and she knows that. So he has a cooler in their dining room. It's like not in the pantry, it's hidden. And so she does not have to walk by and see those things that are tempting. And so if it helps right now, just say, hey, honey, love you, but I'm going to move some of these foods that I shouldn't have and put them in a special spot, so that I don't have to look at them and I don't feel tempted, or tell them to move them into the special spot so you don't even know where they are. So just some helpful things about setting up your environment for success.
Yeah, one thing too, you have to watch out some of the environment. You really have to watch the TV. If you're watching TV and is definitely they're running commercials on there, and you're pulling foods out of your diet, and you're on this special program, the gut reset program, you're gonna have to really watch commercials, because there's been many times where we've been doing cleanses, and then here comes the McDonald's commercial with the French fries and the burgers, and then all these other different food commercials, and it can be very tempting. So definitely watch what your eyes are on. Not just the stuff that Katie's talking about is like super critical for preparing for success, but definitely watch the TV, because it can sneak in and definitely push you a little too far to slip up and get that food that you've been wanting. You don't need that food.
Yeah. Okay. And then number 5, just This is a biggie, making sure that you're communicating with the people you spend time with. So this could be, your children. Maybe you have grown children that come back over to your house here and there, and they might walk in the door and they're having like a Big Mac or something. Maybe it's people you work with, and your desk, like you share a desk or you share a workspace, and so you pretty much know always what they're eating because it's right there under your nose. But make sure those people know what you're doing. So tomorrow's Monday morning, you're going to be, back out in your different environments. And so make sure that they know. And if you haven't told them yet and you start it today, and so tomorrow you're going to be in that environment, make sure that they know, like, hey, I'm really wanting to get, as close to 100% as I can on this gut reset program that I'm doing, and tell them a little bit about it. Maybe tell them what your struggle is and something you've dealt with, so that they understand. Tell them your why, like, hey, I'm going to share my why. And so they know, it's not personal, it's just, this is what I'm doing because I'm trying to better myself, so I can be a better coworker, so I can be a better mom, I can be a better spouse. And I promise you, they're going to be supportive of you.
Yeah, so social situations and festivities. So you really have to watch that in the clinic. There's many times where I just won't let certain patients go on our programs because I know they're not going to be successful. And so right now is a really good time for the gut reset program, and we plan it that way. But as you dig into the gut reset program, you see this is really a lifestyle, something that you would benefit to do at least once a year, if not 2 or 3 times a year. Always giving your body a break. It's a cleanse, it's a fast, get your system back in check. But yeah, you definitely have to watch out. That's where I see most people get off track as they go to the birthday party. Or they go to the office party. Usually it's
Baby
a
showers.
baby showers, and they are not prepared. And so you'll see on their food record, pieces of cake and this and that and candy and so forth. But if you were going to an event, and with most events in definitely here, if you're in Louisiana, we just know how to put food on the table, and so you'll have to like really be prepared. Have something that you can bring there so that you're not so tempted, and that's going to be your biggest success. Not that you don't want to go to these events. I don't think that's the right way to do it, but definitely having like a bar or something healthy that's on the gut reset, that you can eat there and not be so tempted.
Exactly. And so,
yeah, so you definitely have to have a plan of attack when cravings hit. Um, when you eat the foods that are on the list, when you're hungry, that's going to be the best bet. Is just to have something to eat, have a go-to. You would be surprised how many different symptoms that we experience every day, from headaches to anxiety, stress, and definitely just like hunger and cravings, are really your body crying out for water and to get hydrated. And so having some water can really be excellent. And I've also learned a little trick. If you put just a pinch of sea salt in your water, those minerals really help to balance out the hormones enough so that craving starts to go away. And so really having some water, maybe some electrolytes in them, just like a pinch of sea salt, is a really good way to curb the craving. And then distraction, a lot of times, gosh, you can eat so much food just from being bored, so having something to do, whether it's a book or maybe an educational program, even taking time to pray or just get outside, or go through a spiritual routine is really, really good. So many people get into trouble and they just eat because they're bored. And we've been having some really good success using kava root and kava liquid. Kava is what I call an anxiolytic herb. It just has a real nice calming effect on the nervous system. And so when you're having a craving, you can take a couple of drops of that kava liquid. It makes you feel relaxed. It's actually kind of a distraction, gives you something to go to. You're actually putting it in your mouth, but it does calm you down. And kava on a lot of people does have dissipation on the appetite. So people notice they're just not as hungry anymore once they've had a couple of drops of kava or maybe a kava tablet. So this here is the name of the game, stabilizing your blood sugar. This is very, very important. Basically, the way the whole mechanism works is when we take in sugar, things that turn into sugar, our blood sugar levels rise, and then our insulin levels rise, and then we have many other hormones that follow insulin. And so the basic is when your insulin goes up, your hunger hormone ghrelin goes up as well, and then that makes you hungry. And then the higher that goes, we don't lose as much weight either because we get a leptin suppression as well, which is a fat burning signaling hormone. And so really watching your sugar is going to be key. We do have it set up so you can have very specific fruits on the program, but just know the number one thing it's going to make you hungry is getting too much fructose. So you're going to definitely even have to watch, like if you decide to eat berries, what you do with that, because it could make you really hungry. And not that you can't, eat, anything that's on the list, but people do tend to slip and cheat when they have like a very like strong appetite. So really watch your blood sugar. Eating protein is really key for that. Having some fiber. The fiber makes you feel satiated, which basically means you feel full. And so eating protein and fiber would be really key to getting control over that. And then having that frequency of eating will keep your blood sugar from dropping. And that'll be one of your best approaches. But what I tend to see with patients, if they're having just this appetite issue, they're getting too much sugar somewhere. And most people don't think of fruit as sugar. And so on this program, you'd really have to watch the fruit that you do take in, because it could cause an appetite to get a little too strong for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so identifying your triggers. We all have, different triggers, situational triggers, emotional triggers, and people go to food for that. And so we're going to have to really watch that. I would say, in marriages for sure, people tend to, eat when their partner irritates them or, makes them mad. And so they go for the ice box or the pantry to find something. But common triggers are going to be ice cream, of course, sadness and stress are the biggest ones in my opinion. Sleep deprivation can really cause some issues too. What you see with sleep deprivation, people have trouble losing weight when they're not getting proper sleep, and people just their nervous system is not as refreshed and strong. And so when people are tired, they tend to get triggered easier, and then their willpower is not there to make better decisions with their food. So getting sleep and really making sure you're going to bed on time during this program will definitely make you more successful and definitely help you be in a position to have a stronger willpower. So those are just some things to really consider on the program.
Mm-hmm.
And manage your mindset. Negative beliefs about yourself and your progress make it harder to succeed in improving your health. Gosh, Katie and I really like affirmation statements. Affirmation statements are a declaration, a statement of your faith, and it can be scripture. It could be just a particular motivating sequence of words. But write some of these motivating things down. It could be a quote that you read over every day, or a Bible scripture, but start your day with those affirmations, and you'd be surprised how it really sets the course for your day and your willpower and your emotions. So you have to watch what you meditate on. When you start thinking about negative things, you can slip into a rabbit hole. And what the research is showing, the more we think on negative things, the bigger that program becomes in our brain. Miss Caroline Miss, she's a neuro researcher, and she talks a lot about that in her books. But you have to watch that, really watch that negative thinking, especially that negative self-talk that you might have about yourself. We've all, been in different seasons where maybe we didn't like our body shape, or we let ourselves put on too much weight, or, whatever it might be. Just catch yourself if you're having that negative self-talk. And a lot of it too is just like the simple, like, I can't do something. You get that I can't succeed, or that I can't vocabulary in your mind. And it's really easy. You just start saying, I can, you can do this program. I can lose weight. I can get back in shape. And just really watch how you talk about yourself. And it'll really definitely make you more successful in life, but definitely more successful in this program.
Yeah, for sure. All right. And then I just wanted to share two other things if you guys haven't printed this out, or a few copies, but the daily food journal. And so you might want to have a stack of those. Maybe you just want to do a stack for the week. And then you'll need one of these for the week. So this is the weekly symptom tracker. And again, this is important. So we're looking at this sort of like we're problem solvers. So many people have a certain food that's a food sensitivity. Maybe it's just for a season because they've eaten that food during a stressful season. Whatever it may be. But in order for us to identify what that problematic food is, it really helps when we can go back and look at what we've eaten. And so we always think about it that way. Like when we have someone approach us, whether it's a patient or a family member, and it's like, I have a headache. It's like, all right, well, start going backwards. What did you have yesterday? What was your breakfast? What was your lunch? How much coffee did you drink? When did you drink, something different besides water? And so, and even like your amount of stress, like if we can look and say, well, it wasn't a particular food, but maybe there was this, when you walk in Monday morning at work, there's this stress, maybe it's a person that you work with and they're just really hitting you with stress. We can use these journals and these symptom trackers to really evaluate what's going on. I mean, we've had patients who there was this stressor in their life, and until they took and really looked at it and identified what that stressor was, we can't work on the physical body. I mean, this is a holistic approach, looking at, not just foods, but is there a certain stressor? Is there something that's making you nervous? Is there a family member who is just, sending you text messages or calling you and giving you grief, or making you feel guilty, or whatever it is? When we have a 30 days like this to really evaluate our health, we can really look and see like some things that are pulling on our health, and it's really important. So it may not just be a food, it may be a stressor of sorts. And so if you guys can print those and fill them out the best that you can, I encourage you to do that so that we can start looking at things that are, again, pulling on our health. So remember, mistakes happen. It's okay if you're in a situation where that plan C, you go to a restaurant and you already looked ahead, what's on the menu, but they bring your food out and you don't realize that there's something in that food. Maybe it wasn't, on a menu they'll list like the top 3 things. If it's a chicken dish with bell peppers and maybe onions, it may not have like all the different items, and say maybe it has a little bit of wheat in it. And so we ask a lot of questions when you go to a restaurant, and don't feel like, oh, I'm bothering the waiter or the waitress. That's their job. Their job is to serve you and answer questions and give you, the service. That's what their job is. So ask questions, but don't feel like if, you did have a contamination in a restaurant food and it was after the fact, you'd already eaten it, and then you realize, oh goodness, it had that in it. It's okay.
Yeah, and it's about learning. And so you learn something, about that restaurant or that food or your body. And so it ends up really being a win in the long term. So definitely don't let something like that get you defeated.
Right. And then, then there's the intentional, not an unintentional, like in a restaurant or when you go to a family member's house. But if, you did just say, hey, I blew it, I ate that. Don't just get hung up on that. Let it pass. But just make sure it's not something that's happening every single day, because you're not going to get the most out of this program if, we're having that just routine that we're unable to evaluate and put a stop on it. But here's some encouragement for you guys. We're humans just like you are. We've had to overcome, food temptations. There's food sensitivities that we have. And we know, if we eat those foods, we know what it's going to look like. We know what that does to our bodies. But remember, one day at a time. And we are here if you have any issues. Again, there's the email address. It's help@drericksnow.com. And I actually have that. It's on me and I look at that all day long. So actually I have an app that notifies me when somebody, so it's even better than just it coming into my email. I have a customer service app, so make sure you use this email address. And make sure you give us 24 hours to respond. If I don't respond in an hour, I didn't forget about you. But if it's been more than 24 hours, please send another email, because again, it's technology and things happen. But we don't want to hear just problems, even though we want to help you work through problems. We want to hear testimonies too. So we want to hear like, oh goodness, like me being off of this one food for a week, like my energy is like through the roof. Like we want to hear that. We want to hear praise reports, and we want to hear results, and we want to hear success. But again, if you have an issue, we want to help walk you through it. We want to say thank you for participating in this reset program. And again, we know that you're going to have a great success with it. And so now we want to open up the floor for question and answer. And definitely, I'm making sure nobody else jumped on the call, but we want to hear question and answer. And so we open that up right now.
Katie, this is Liz. How long within the 30 days, how long do we withhold all the bad foods before we start adding anything back?
Yes, I love that question. Great question. We actually have an additional amount that you guys have not gotten yet, but additional data on food reintroduction. So you're actually going to go the whole 30 days, but we have the instructions for how to reintroduce those foods in an order so that you, again, can identify what those problem foods are for you. And so there's a video that you guys will get at a certain point. We just didn't want to do it too soon so that it wasn't like, okay, what do I do with this information? Right now, we're just focusing on what we've given you so far. So the shopping list, making sure that you've looked over that and make sure there's no questions. We're pretty clear on like if it was a certain brand to utilize, we included the brand name, but just focusing on the things that you can have. There is a foods to avoid list, so make sure you look over that as well, just in case it was like, well, I didn't see it on the shopping list, and you want to make sure that it is something you want to refrain from. But that is a great question, and you're going to get a video and some more content. And we're actually going to do the second coaching call on August 25th. And that we are dedicating that phone call to, it's just 5 days before the end. And so we pushed it back a little bit like that on purpose, because a lot of people, it's like, okay, at this point, you're humming along, doing good, got a lot of the bugs worked out, and you're doing really well. But what many programs that we work with patients on, we know that once they, they're so successful, when they get to the point where they're ending it, they don't maybe end it as well, or maybe didn't have the full understanding of how to, go from this point to like entering back into like certain foods that were restricted. And so they feel like they just bombed it, and then they feel frustrated for all the work they put into a program. And then here they are, they feel like, oh, well, I didn't really know what I was doing, or didn't understand, or didn't ask enough questions. But we're going to make sure that second coaching call is going to go very in depth with how to reintroduce foods. We actually made a food reintroduction calendar. And so in there, it's got like exactly, in the first week after, like which foods to reintroduce. And again, there's going to be foods in that. And I'll let, Dr. Eric go into a little detail with that just to answer your question. But there's going to be foods you don't want to reintroduce. So if you have a person, hey, puppy. If you have a person who is a celiac, and so they already know, like they can't handle wheat, it's not a sensitivity, it's not a intolerance, it's a full allergy that, they have complications from. So that's built into the calendar. But of course, if somebody just knows, like, I do not need to reintroduce that food, then you just skip over and you'll go to the next food to reintroduce. But we'll give you the full details on that.
Yeah, you're basically, and it'll be easier to understand when you get the video and the information. But you're basically depends on how diverse your diet, was before you came to the program. Those people, they haven't been doing certain foods for a while anyway, and so they might only have like so many like main foods that they're having to consider to reintroduce. And so some of these are what we call high allergy foods or high inflammatory foods. And so basically you introduce that food back in, like say on a Monday, and you eat a couple servings of that. And you have to wait generally up to a week with those bigger allergen foods, because that's the interesting phenomenon with these food sensitivities is you can have symptoms for up to 7 days. And so we really want to make sure, that we've detected a trigger food. And so it's not something that we really rush through. And there's different ways to do it. And you'll see when you get that the video and the information. But what I tend to do in the clinic is we just go to those foods that you're like really would like to add back in. It's maybe a favorite food or something that has been a part of your diet and you really want to see. And so we would tend to pick that food first and put those first 2 main foods in. And so we can see if it's an issue or not, so you can get back to eating food that you like so much. But we have all the details in that upcoming video, and it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. What about like supplements? Like I take gastrofiber and sometimes I take Zypan because I have acid reflux. Do I continue taking those or not while I'm doing this?
Yeah, you definitely can continue taking those supplements.
Okay.
That's a good question, because even the people that'll be watching the recording of this video, you may be working with a practitioner and, they have a nutrition schedule for you, or you're working with, a medical doctor and he's got prescriptions prescribed for you. Those things will stay on board. So we're, not disrupting any of that. Business as usual, keep, doing those items. We don't want to, make any changes with that. We're, we're introducing some supplements, and I'll let you, talk to the fact that if anybody has a concern of, introducing supplements on top of something you're already doing. But we want you to keep doing what you're doing as far as, prescription drugs or other supplements that you're taking. And if you have a question about, another supplement, definitely send an email to us and we'll address it, the best that we can.
Yeah, this program, it's really been from, I've been practicing since 2005. I mean, it's a 15-year in the making program. And so when we sat down to basically engineer this and put it into a format so that we could help people outside the clinic, the particular supplements that we developed, formulated, and then put into this protocol, we did it in a way that it would really be compatible, with other supplements. It'd be compatible with other protocols. Realizing people do take their own vitamins, and there could be some people working with different practitioners, and then even considering medications and so forth. And so this protocol is a really easy protocol to do. It's very effective, and it's set up in a way that it's really not going to interfere with anything that you would be on. But if you do have any questions, definitely send an email to that help address, and we'll handle that as fast as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to say too, also with the supplements, just to reiterate, in case this was a question that someone would have watching the recording. So there's 3 supplements that everyone who's participating in the program should be taking, and that's the Gut Revive, the Gut Rescue, and the Gut Restore. So just remember, on the Gut Reset supplement schedule and log, if you have this printed out and you have it wherever you keep your supplements, say if it's in the kitchen or bathroom, but just have this taped to the mirror, taped to the cabinet, so you can log when you're taking these. But just remember on the gut rescue, so that's a botanical blend that's it's going to help support, removing some of these pathogens that are kind of gotten a little outnumbered in your gut than what they should be. And so we're trying to get some of those out, and some of them are a little harder to get out. And so that product, the gut rescue, like we have it on the supplement schedule, it's all 3 supplements are every morning. However, if you do feel a little bit of nausea, which we've had some people say, but not often, it's a very mild as far as like how your body handles it, even if it's really doing a lot of tough work. Most people handle it well. However, if there's a little bit of nausea, you can move the gut rescue supplement to just before bedtime. So the reason that we put this, and again, we've had so many circumstances with patients as we worked with them, trying to figure out like what works with compliance. Because the main thing is to get these on a frequency and a consistency so you're seeing results. If you go, really good the first 7 days and then you miss, it's that consistency that with the supplements that's going to not allow you to, have the full success of the program. So taking them all together right upon waking. So before breakfast, that's a great empty stomach because you fasted all evening. And so you just take them with room temperature water. And, if you like warm water, warm lemon water, some people do that in the morning. But just keep doing it that way. And remember, there's on the gut rescue, the first 10 days, you're going to be taking it. And then the second 10 days or, days 11 through 20, you're going to stop taking that one. And then you're going to go back on days, the last 10 days of the program. And so just remember, that's a little different. You're taking them all in the morning, all together. Everything's, humming along. But just remember, if you have this log and the schedule somewhere, it'll remind you, hey, because one thing, it's not going to be the end of the world if you did just take them all and finish the bottles out, but we're pulsing it. So we're doing 10 days on, 10 days off, 10 days on of the gut rescue. The rest of them, you're taking them the whole time. But there is a synergistic effect, doing it in this way to where we can get, some of those bugs under control in the gut. And so we're looking at, dysbiosis and leaky gut. And so if we're taking it the way that we've engineered it for patients who have been very successful in this program, it works. But again, if something happens where you're like, oh goodness, I missed a couple days, or oh goodness, I took 4 of these this day or whatever, it's all going to be fine. You're not going to mess this up so much that it's going to ruin the program. Do follow this schedule. If you have a question, make sure that you email us. And again, we can fix anything. We can make anything right. But definitely send us an email so we can address it.
Yeah, the schedule we put together it's the optimal way to do it. You get the synergy with the supplements when you do it in the morning on an empty stomach. It's more potent in the gut. You get less competition with other proteins when you're taking the glutamine, which is really designed to get in there and heal the gut lining and give it some fuel. So that's the optimal way to take it, and just build in thousands of nutrition schedules. I have found the most compliant time for people to take supplements is in the morning time across the board. You have people where it might be a little bit different, but they always tell me like, yeah, I take my morning supplements, but I miss my lunch or I miss my dinner. And so we really thought this out just from the experience we've had with patients to make it so the compliance will be easy, and so that you really get the synergy and the potency from the protocol. And so it is best to stick to the way that we have it set up. But basically, like I tell patients, just take the stuff. If you finish all 3 bottles in the next 30 days, you're still going to have some real good success with it, and it's still going to work. But we just have it set up optimally for compliance and then for synergy and potency.
Yeah. And then, so good. Miss Christine, I see your question. So she asked, I'm a diabetic. You're advising us not to eat after 6 p.m. I need to eat at least a snack after 6 p.m. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's definitely okay. If that condition, which it definitely is a blood sugar issue, and trying to keep all that normalized, it's not going to be a setback in the program.
Yeah. And really, what we're doing that recommendation for is a lot of times just what we're doing in this 30 days is trying to take stress off of the gut.
Right.
And so it's just a recommendation for us to have a bigger window where we're taking some of the stress off. And what these supplements are doing, in a nutshell, you have one of them that's, pulling some of the pathogens. You have the Gut Revive. That's a glutamine product that's helping, with the integrity of that gut tissue to help, support that gut tissue. And then you have the Gut Restore, which is a probiotic. And so that probiotic is, getting in there and, taking up, residents basically and kicking the other stuff out. And so you have a lot going on with those supplements. And so if we can give a little break time to let those supplements really, do some work, that's just a recommendation to not eat after 6. But again, if you have, a small stack at, 8 p.m., it's not going to mess anything up. But when you're having a heavy meal, like later, right before you go to sleep, again, you're asking your body to do quite a bit of work while you're resting. And so don't feel like, oh, I messed something up if I did eat, went out to eat and we didn't get food at the restaurant until 8, 9 p.m. and, it's a heavier meal. It's okay. You didn't mess anything up, but just remember on this 30 days as a whole, the more rest we can give our gut, the more that it can do to heal. And so that's, the big highlight there.
Yeah, that was just gonna say what Dr. Katie said. It's really about getting that gut rest. I've seen some really impressive stuff by building a longer intermittent fasting windows for patients that have the leaky gut, that have you name what gut problem they could have. But a lot of people never give their gut rest. And so when you shut that down at 6, you're getting a nice window to get the gut rest, that from like a gut lining point of view. And then you're allowing the body to use its energy, to go through the healing and repair and detoxification process at nighttime instead of having, all this blood having to be, routed to the gut because of this big meal that you ate. And then too, it does help with hormone balance to eat a little bit earlier. You will notice that insulin starts to get more normalized, that appetite hormone ghrelin starts to come down because you have that window where you're basically fasting. And so it's definitely a benefit to follow that. But again, as we were saying, is doing the program the best that you can. You're gonna get really good results. You definitely don't want somebody passing out from blood sugar issues just to do the program. So if you need to eat a snack, just try to keep, look at the list of foods that are on there and keep it really clean. One food that came to mind is, if you had an avocado, that would definitely be more healing to the gut versus, if you had a bunch of like nut butter, which is not a bad thing, but it'd be a little bit more irritating to the gut. And so try to look at maybe some of the cleaner foods to eat with that snack. And that fat in that avocado is going to really stabilize you for a longer period.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is it. So we're right up on an hour, spending with you guys. It's been awesome. And thanks, Miss Dina and Miss Liz for being on the call. We know that even the guys that are going to be watching this, on a replay, that we'll send everybody in an email. But again, if you have questions, make sure that you are utilizing the resource that we've given you. There's so many good downloads. So again, if you've not went through all the content, take that time to just go through everything. Some forms you don't need to print out, but I like paper stuff. I read paper books versus reading on a tablet. But print these things out and utilize these resources, because all these things together are really gonna just bring you into success by having, even the 30-day motivational guide. I really spent a lot of time thinking about things that were going to be motivating, because there's just those times where you're going to feel like, oh, what am I doing? What did I get myself into? But having, to walk through every day with something that's motivational and things that we've, put this list together of things that we do on a regular basis and included those for you guys. But again, if you have questions on any of the resources that we've given you, make sure that you email us. We want you to be successful. So thanks for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
And again, let us know if you have any questions. And if not, we'll see you on the next call coming up.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye.